Pacific Division right now, DB, wide open. We've got the LA Kings, of course, plus 500, but they're right in the mix with the 17-3-1 Copley leading the way. Vegas injured, but they're still co-favorites at plus 240 with the Edmonton Oilers to win the Pacific. We've got Seattle at plus 275. They're sizzling off a little bit, so can they regain that? Calgary at plus 900. Their goalie just can't stop a beach ball right now. I think it's only a matter of time until Dan Vladar takes over. So, DB, what are you seeing with the Pacific Division landscape here? Because we've got 5 teams pretty much in the running for that top spot.
Well, I hosted on Sirius XM a couple of weeks ago. Steve Cooley has asked me on the power play to make a bold prediction. I said LA was going to win the division, and I got the gears from Shane O'Brien. But Shane, hey, look, they're what 2 points out of like that price on them. If now pre-Chikrin, if they get Chikrin and you get them at plus 500, I'd make the bet based on the possibility of them getting Jacob Chikrin. It's wide open. I watched Seattle last night, and Burakovsky, I'm not sure how long he's going to be out. And they have depth scoring. When you look at their lineup, you say, wow, there's guys with like 10 and 11 goals on each one of the lines. Manny Bernstein has slowed down a little bit. Seattle's backing up. I don't like Calgary at all. I don't even think they got any shot winning the division. I think it comes down to L.A., Edmonton, and Vegas. And look, they can trade for Patrick Kane or make another move in Vegas, but they're not replacing Mark Stone. He's a unicorn for that team. Like, he's a leader. He wears the C. He's emotional. He's the heartbeat of that team. Jack Raquel's starting to wake up a little bit, but Jack hasn't been good down the stretch. In Edmonton, if they get some saves, they can win the division. I think Edmonton is the more healthier team, so they should probably be the favorite over Vegas. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Vegas because they're banged up, and they're an older team, Zach. And down the stretch, if you're going to play Pietrangelo 25 or 27 minutes, like that's going to wear on this team, and that's what happened down the stretch. So it's really interesting. Vegas could easily win, but I think LA at plus 500, and they're right there. And they have a pretty relatively easy schedule once they get through this Eastern road trip. They have at the end of the month. They have a lot of home games, and they have against lesser teams. I think for the value, I think LA is the best bet right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, especially if they add. And they're going to add at some point. It's just a matter of how extreme is this addition. Right. Is it Chikrin? Is it Gavrikov if the price is lowered? Is it Luke Shen, for example? I mean, no, actually, it's not because he's right. They don't have. If they get another right shot,
they got 27 right.
Only a matter of time until Luke Shen gets his statue too next to Dustin Brown's.
Easy now with that. Everybody outside not appreciating Dustin Brown's presence in LA. It's crazy. But look, if they could find a Dustin Brown type, I'm sure they would love to add him to this lineup, the true playoff performer that he was. But I like LA too. The way that they're playing. Everyone's complaining about goaltending and they need to get another goalie because Copley is this, Copley's that. Like Dennis said earlier, Copley is 17-3. Are you now going to bring in another goalie, or are you going to go to Copley and say, hey, you've been really good for us. We want to ride you. Our confidence is now in you. Do you think that's going to either go – is he going to go back and go, oh, man, too much pressure. I can't handle this. Or, holy crap, the team's got – they're putting me on their shoulders, and I'm going to help ride this team forward? Like, that's motivation all by itself. So, I mean, that which is huge. So, if they can make some type of addition, and there's this Patrick Kane talk, which I'm still not understanding fully, but – It shows to me that Rob Blake is just looking around and weighing his options. So I think certainly they're going to stay up top, and they're going to fight for that division. I really think they are.
The goaltending options, like Talbot's hurt, Demko's hurt. Like who you? The Islanders not showing Varlamov. They can't play Sorokin in every game. Like what's the option here? Like who are you going to trade? Like Marc-Andre Fleury? Because Gustafson's taking on, like, there's no option. There's no better option. So, again, they can solve this. And now Copley got an extension, so he's signed for next season. So is Cal Peterson. Quick's probably his last days in L.A. are right now. Like, they're not going to trade for a fourth healthy goaltender. Like, what do? You really going to put 3 guys on the roster? Like, it doesn't make sense. The guy's winning games, and he's getting closer to the Copley to the league average. I think it's 906. He's like 901 or 902. Like he's had a couple bad games. He had one bad game against Dallas at home, then got wiped out in Nashville and got pulled in 39 seconds. But, like, you're going to waive us. Like, somebody says, oh, you can make a trade and waive it. I'm like, You're waiving a 17-3-1 goalie that you just extended for another year. It doesn't make sense. This is the rotation you're going to look. It would help if Jonathan Quick played better, like to give this guy a break, because that's the challenge. It's not Phoenix Copley. It's that they can't rely on Cal Peterson or Quick. Quick hasn't won a game since December 1st. Now he's going to get some play over the weekend. He's either going to play in Anaheim or Arizona, and those are 2 games they should win. That's a game he should win. They need to build the confidence, or Todd McClellan needs to get confidence back in Jonathan Quick, because he hasn't played that much and he hasn't won in a long time. That's a long stretch for Jonathan Quick not to win since December 1st.
All right, enough of LA. It's too much now. It's too much. They're going to add. They're not changing the goalie. They're going to figure out this Chychrun thing, I think, and then go from there. So how do the rest of these teams react? Like DB's right. Like I had a story come out this morning on Calgary, and I wrote about how much of a hot mess the Flames are, because they are. I mean, they're in a wild card spot right now, but Colorado has like 45 games in hand of them, or whatever it is. I think it's 5.
Yeah.
But and they're a point back. Like with how some of these other teams are performing, Calgary and Edmonton are in a lot of trouble. Calgary and Minnesota are in a lot of trouble. But with respect to the Calgary Flames, they're right up there with Boston in terms of how busy they are combing the league. They're looking at every option. They're trying to turn over every stone to see how they can make improvements to this club. If this team does not make the playoffs, all hell's going to break loose with that club. And Brad Treliving knows it. There's a lot of pressure on him right now that he's feeling, and I feel for him because there is a hell of a lot of pressure. He made so many gigantic changes in the summer that it hasn't galvanized the team. Jonathan Huberdeau is on pace for the lowest point total over a full season since 14-15. Andrew Mangiapane is on pace for less than half of the 35 goals he scored last year. Those are just 2 guys. Jacob Markstrom might not be on the team next season. Yeah, keep tabs on that, depending on how things go with the rest of this club. There are going to be some serious changes that are going to have to happen for this club. And as they look at options, and they've checked in on Chychrun, they've checked in on Colton Parayko, who has a full no trade in his new contract. They've checked in on other players. And they're also getting checked in on. Ottawa has interest in Mackenzie Weegar. And my understanding is if the Calgary Flames can upgrade their decor in another area, they would consider moving Mackenzie Weegar to Ottawa. So it's something to keep tabs on.
See,
and after signing him to that huge deal too.
Yeah, right. He's in year 0 of that deal. He's still on his old deal.
Yeah.
And here's the thing with Calgary, right? Like, Mangiapane wasn't a 35-goal scorer. Elias Lindholm isn't a 40-goal scorer. It's the trickle-down effect of 2 great offensive. Here's the thing, and I know they flamed out in the playoffs last year, and that's a bad pun, but they beat the Dallas in Game 7 on a lucky shot by Coleman. They got wiped out by the Oilers. You forget how great that regular season team was. Like, this is not the same team. Mangiapane is an 18-goal scorer, not a 35-goal scorer. Elias Lindholm's a really solid player. He's not a 40-goal scorer. But that was the presence of Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk as a halo effect on these other guys. Like Naz Kadri, solid. He's not, but hey, guess what? He's not an 80-point player he was in Colorado. They were necessary moves. Don't get me wrong. A lot of guys left, and I think a lot that has to do with the coach, right? I think that's why Johnny's not there anymore. And I think Matthew, nobody really likes him, but I'm not sure he wanted to play there either anymore as well. That's the thing, is that they had to make these replacements, but it's clearly not the same team. It's not responding to Daryl. Zach, every game's the same thing. They outshoot everybody by 2-1, and they lose games because they can't find a way. That game in Ottawa, you're up 3-1 with 2:15 left, and you can't beat that team. The goalie making his NHL debut, sorry. Like, you can see they're not really responding to what's going on with Daryl behind the bench. They're not. Like, there's too much talent on that team, even though I think it's lesser offensive talent. Like, it's more maybe the mold of what Daryl is used to coaching, because it's not as offensively gifted. But it's clearly not working. And when I watch those games, it's the same thing, because 35 shots on goal, but they have like 5 high danger chances. So they take all these stupid shots. They don't have close to getting in the net. And it looks like, oh, wow, they really dominated this team. But it was 2-1. It was 3-1. They never really gapped themselves. The one game was in Buffalo, where they were down 2-0 in that game and found a way to get 7 goals. I really don't like the combination. They just don't like the confident team. And like Dave says, they don't look like they're in sync.
There was talk over the weekend that if they lost that game to Buffalo, which they ended up winning 7-2, I think it was 7-2, but
Yeah.
or maybe that would whatever. They won the friggin' game. There's too much hockey going on. If they lost that game, there was talk that Daryl's seat got hotter. Like there is now whispers that they're contemplating everything. And look, Dennis is right. Nobody expected Mangiapane to score 35 goals again this year, and nobody expected Lindholm to get 40. But to get under 20 or around 20 for Lindholm, like people thought, okay, in Calgary, if these guys could be around 25, 28 goals, great. We brought in Huberto, we brought in Nas. We'll be able to supplement that. The offense will still work for this team. It hasn't worked. And Jacob Markstrom's been garbage. So he knows it. I mean, he's having a really bad year. He knows it. He can't figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just have those shit years. Sorry. And that just is what happens. So a lot of bad things. Everything's kind of happening all at once for the Calgary Flames. And Treliving's trying to figure it out. I don't know if he can. As I said in my article, he made some earth-shattering moves in the summer. So there's no stopping him from having to do it again. But he's got to figure this out, and his team's not doing him many favors lately.
Thank you for listening to that snippet of the Edgework podcast. You can find the full show here on YouTube and streaming on all your favorite podcast platforms. If you enjoyed it, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more daily NHL content.